Hello, in this lecture we will continue on with Chapter 4. We are still working with Larry Landscaping, Garden, and Supply, which we will be working with for Chapter 4 and Chapter 5. Therefore, we can first open the file, which we have been working on since Chapter 1. You could do that any of two ways, or more than two ways. I will show you two ways. You can open the actual file. We could locate the file much the way we generally do with a Word or Excel document, which in this case is in the data files for me. There's the landscaping file. You can double click on that and open that, or you can also open the program like so and then locate the file from the program. Once the program is open, you'll generally come to this screen. You could click here to open the file or open it from the open or restore button. Again, because this screen doesn't show you exactly where the data path is, and because we will be using multiple different files later, I do suggest getting in the habit of going to the File tab and locating the file so that we make sure that we are opening the file that we are currently going to be working on. So I'm going to go ahead and open from the file. It says open, accompany, or restore. We had already restored it, therefore we only need to open it. I'm going to select next in order to do so. Then I'm going to locate where it is. I'm going to go to my desktop because that's where mine is at, and then I'm going to scroll down and look for the QuickBooks file, which is right there, looking for the data files and going into Larry Landscaping. Once this opens up, we will see that we are in Larry Landscaping by seeing that it is the sample file for Larry Landscaping up at the top. We're in 2014. Also have the open windows open over here on the left-hand side. These are from the prior problem, so you probably want to close these up. So that is what I will do now. We could do that all at one time by going to the Windows tab and then close all. So then we'll have this gray area in the back. If you want to have something in that gray area, such as the home page, you can go over to the home icon and click the home page, which will open the home page. If you do not have the open windows open over here, I do suggest using that, and that is located in the view tab and in the open windows section. Alright, so let's scroll down. This is a very short chapter, so this should be pretty quick here. We're going to scroll down. You can read the scenario. We're going to skip to the gray areas in this case, which has the objective of to create a statement of cash flows. So we are now moving on to the statement of cash flows, which we will create. So open Larry Landscaping. We have done step 1. Number 2, from the report center, click company financials and then double click the statement of cash flows. Remember, this is not clicking the reports menu item, it's clicking the company financials from the report center. Alright, so once again we're going to go to our trusty report center, which is located up here. So I'm going to go to report center. If it doesn't open full screen, we can make it full screen like so. It generally opens to the standard tab automatically, and we are currently in company financials. I am going to put it into list view so that we can see it in the list format, and we're going to have to scroll down a ways in order to find this, but right here we're in the profit and loss, similar to which is the income statement in essence. If we scroll down enough, we should find the balance sheet here, and then if we scroll down enough after that, we should find the cash flow statement, these being one of the main financial statements. And we're looking for the statement of cash flows, and I'm going to go ahead and run that report. And here we have the statement of cash flows with the operating and financing sections here and investing areas. So let us, actually there's no investing now, but we will make an adjustment that will add the an investing item. Okay, so we're going to create a statement of cash flows. We have done that. Okay, and then number 3, change the date from 9/1/14 to 11/30/14. So I'm going to hit tab 09/01/14 to 11/30/14, changing the dates, and there we have it. Now we see that we do have an investing activity item, which is the truck accumulated depreciation there, which probably shouldn't be there, so we might have to move that. And notice the statement of cash flows being that we're doing the indirect method here. We're starting at net income. In the operating section, we are ending up at the net cash provided by operations. And then we have the cash from the investing activities, and then from the financing activities. The cash at the end of the period then should match what is on the balance sheet. If we wanted to check that as of November 30th, 2014, we could go to reports and we could go to financials and check the balance sheet. This is a quick way to go to the balance sheet, other than going to the report centers. And as of 11/30/14, we see that in total cash, including the checking, the cash expenditures and savings, it's $119,092.59, which is slightly different. So let's take a look at what that difference is before we jump into this 119,092.59 minus. I'm going to go over here to the statement of cash flows, and we have the bottom line number that should tie out, which is 119,782.62. Now, we're off by $690. Now, QuickBooks should not be off because it's a database program and it forces us to be in balance. So we should be able to find that somewhere. So let's go back to the balance sheet. We're looking for that number, that 690.03. And if we scroll down here, we can see it right there. There's the 690.03. And notice, even though this undeposited funds isn't in the cash area, you would think it kind of would be. What is that undeposited funds? We haven't seen that in our theory classes. That means that we've received cash, but we haven't yet taken it to the bank. So the QuickBooks is going to distinguish between those two items, cash being in essence mainly the checking account. Undeposited funds could be funds that we are holding on to that haven't yet made it to the bank. If you work with a company that has a large amount in this amount, it could be a problem that needs to be adjusted, because that often happens. Alright, so we're going to go back over here, go back to the book and see what we have at this time. Moving down to page 64, number 4 says, select Customize Report and then select Header, Footer, Tab, and uncheck Date Prepared, Time Prepared. And notice where a cash flow statement does not have the basis of the accrual versus cash because it's a cash flow. So we're going to go to the Customize here. We're going to go to the Header and Footer, and we're going to remove the Date Prepared and Time Prepared. And there's the items that will be removed once we select OK. And it does tell us to select OK, so I'm going to select OK, and those will go away. So then we're going to go to number 5, says scroll down this report, and notice that 3 sections, operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities. So those are the 3 sections of a statement of cash flow. Observe that the net cash increase from the period is reported at the bottom of the statement. It is then added to the cash at the beginning of the period to yield cash at the end of the period. So that's the format of a cash flow statement. So you can go through here and you can read through the item by pressing pause. We're going to skip to the next gray area where the activity will happen. And the next objective is to modify the layout of the statement of cash flows. Number 1, click the Classify Cash to open the Preferences window with Reports and Graphs icon selected and the Company Preferences tab selected as shown in Figure 4.2. So we're going to select the Classify Cash icon up here. We're in Reports and Graphs, which I believe is the correct area. We're going to go to Classify Cash once again right there. So we're going to select that. This shows us basically where the differences are popping up on the statement of cash flow between our 3 sections, being the operating, the investing, and the financing. So the difference in accounts receivable is an operating activity, mainly because the difference is related to sales. So prepaid insurance, operating, employee advance, operating. We got the investment asset is currently in the operating, the truck, because when we invest in a large fixed asset, that generally is an investing activity. The accumulated depreciation is in the investing activity. And that, I think, is what we are going to change, because the difference in accumulated depreciation is usually depreciation expense, which may need to go into the operating activities. So the credit cards in the operating, the oil operating, and these differences, and you go through here and check these off and look at where they're located at. So the equipment loan, of course, in the financing, the bank loan, and the equity in the financing activity. So let's go back here and see what we have next. Number 2 says, click Classify in the Preferences window to view a Classify Cash window. Number 3, click the operating column next to the truck accumulated depreciation to move the change in depreciation from the investment activity to an operating activity as shown in Figure 4.3. 4.3 is down here. So we are moving the investing activity and the accumulated depreciation to the from investing to operating. So we're looking for this accumulated depreciation. We have it in investing. We're going to move it to operating. The reason for that move is that the difference between the accumulated depreciation is usually depreciation expense, and it's not a cash activity. Therefore, it needs to be backed out of the operating section which relates to pretty much the income statement on a cash basis. So, and then we're going to select OK. Click OK to the preferences window.